So on today's podcast, we're going to chat with Benedicte, who is a mum of three, who is a prolapse warrior and who does breathwork and has experience also with hypopressives. Benedicte and I met on Instagram, I think, talking about breathwork and hypopressives. And I just need to put a warning in here that Benedicte's accent is so soothing and beautiful that if you are listening to this whilst driving, you might need to pull over because she's just so like the melody of her voice. So just a little it's true, like you've got the most soothing voice. So I just want to say, in case any mums are listening, they're driving, you might need to pull over because it's just very soothing. So Benedicte, how are you doing?
I am like now flushing. I'm doing really well. Thank you very much.
And I know you said it's half term, isn't it? So 2 kids at home today?
Yeah, actually we are finished with half term, but they are sick. So one is sick and the other one, all the teachers are sick. So
okay, but you've still got 2 kids at home. So
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Mum's life.
Mum life, indeed. Yeah. And you're actually a mum of 3. So how old are your 3 children now?
9, 7 and 5.
Okay. And should we start then with, because I think the thing that I really loved when we spoke last time was about your 3 different birth and postnatal experiences. And I think if I'm correct, you've done them all in 3 different countries.
Yes, exactly. So this is what the real special things about us is each of us in the family have been born in a different country.
That's amazing, isn't it? What a lovely story. And how did those birth experiences happen in different countries? Like, do you want to maybe start with your favorite birth, maybe?
Yeah, so let's say, so it have been first birth in Italy, second birth in Czech Republic, and third birth in Germany. So my favorite one was Germany. But is it because it was the third one and I was more relaxed? Or is it because it was Germany? Probably a bit of both.
And what made it feel so wonderful? Like, what were the elements that felt good?
It went the way I wanted. So if I compare with the first one, I went into my birth like extremely naive and extremely didn't want to know so much neither. I was also, at the time when I was pregnant for the first one, I was working in France, but living in Italy. So I was trying also to get all the courses, and then I couldn't really get them. And my doctor in Italy said, you don't need to have anything. It's really natural process. You need to push and the baby will come. Okay. So let's breathe through that. And so compared to, like the way I gave birth the first time, which I didn't really know what would come, to, okay, I am taking over and I really want a birth in water. I want to be relaxed. And I remember my midwife, and I didn't have midwife the first time. So my midwife in Germany told me, enjoy giving birth. And I was like, okay, how can she say that? This is really not enjoyable. So I was, but then I got it when I was there, because what's happened, so my second birth was really quick as well. So she said maybe it was too quick.
Right. Yeah.
So she said really enjoy it. And I remember saying in me, okay, I am a team with the baby and we're going to make it together. And I was saying like, okay, like, let's breathe it through. And then I was feeling him coming down and I was really like, he's doing his work, I'm doing my work. So it was a beautiful, so it was in water, beautiful experience in this sense. And it was a really quiet night actually as well. So in the hospital, I had the midwife with me and my husband. And so it was nice. There were no rush anywhere in the hospital. So it was pretty peaceful.
So so from that, I'm taking like you felt very in control for that third birth versus like the first birth. You felt like you had like the knowledge, the support, the time, and like that's what made it feel like the perfect birth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how was the postnatal experience then from the third birth as well? I'm guessing, when you have an easy birth and a birth that you desired, is the postnatal experience easier than it was with the first birth?
Yeah, I mean, you are expecting your third one, and I love to chat with you after that,
Yeah.
after you have your third one. I think we are different, I mean, I think, and I will always go back to the first birth, like the last one was extremely relaxed because, I mean, you have two other kids at home and
Yeah.
you cannot do just anything else than just being relaxed. However, I also took very seriously the recovery
Good. Okay.
and the cuddling with the baby and, like being really with him and looking after myself. I knew so much more than the first birth. So it was easier. Yeah, easy. Yeah. I mean, the third one is just like, yeah.
And when you say you really prioritized and like looked after your recovery, so what did that look like for you? Like, what was your recovery?
Nourishing my body, for sure, like having really nourishing food, which again I learned through all the postpartum journey, starting from the first one, to sleeping a lot as well, sleeping in the middle of the day, which I will not do with the first one or the second one. I had the two little ones. I mean, they were 4 and 2. They were at the creche or the nannies. So, so they were taken care of during the day. So it was sleeping and cuddling and, like all this and really nourishing myself. Yeah. With food and collagen and, all what we know also from the postnatal recovery.
And when you say food and collagen, and interestingly, I just got off a phone call actually with a woman talking about prolapse and talking about the benefits of collagen. So would you just explain a little bit about why you chose to take collagen, and also when you're saying nourishing food, like what diet does that mean for you?
Yeah, okay. And I will go back then to my first birth and maybe my prolapse diagnosis, because I was diagnosed after the first birth and I've always been an emotional eater. So either everything or nothing.
Okay, yeah.
And before I had all my kids, I was traveling all over Europe. I was always in a plane, in an hotel, taxi, plane, hotel. This was my life. So not really when you can really look after your food. So I was either or. So it would be like either eating airport food and, drinking the wine in the hotel in the evening. And it could be like every night because we are traveling all week. But it could also be being on a diet for a whole week and taking my whatever eggs and food with me and vegetable on travel as well. So it was really extreme. But then, so this was my life before. So when I gave birth, which will also interest. So I was diagnosed with my prolapse. And I was told that I couldn't do anything. Again, let's breathe in. But this was also my why I did so much also for me. So I was told I couldn't do anything except the surgery. And I said, it cannot be. And then what I noticed with me straight away is I was bloated all the time.
I remember you saying this. Yeah. Okay.
So for me, it was, I've never been really constipated in my life. So the constipation was not my issue, but more the bloating. And I was living in Italy at the time. So welcome the bread and the pasta. And I was just like noticing my symptom being terrible just after eating because I was bloated. And I started to go down this rabbit hole of nutrition, saying like, what makes me bloated? And and I did what we call elimination diet. So you get a couple of food out of your diet to understand what makes you bloated, what makes you not bloated. So I went through, and so I discovered a lot about myself. So it's why, and then I really said, okay, the real food is the food I need to nourish my body. It's not about counting calories. It's about really nourishing your body with real food. And at the end, it was that. It was like really, I stopped completely the processed food, the sugar, and after there is a couple of things with me, with dairy, I'm not doing well neither. But, again, me being extreme, I went to the right extreme, like no sugar, no processed food, nothing, to come to, after with 3 kids, what do? If you just need to cook everything from scratch. So I do mainly, probably 80-20. But yeah, so this is that. It's really nourishing. My body was real food and not being afraid of fat, which I was for a long time. Like eating the right number of protein, like quite a lot of protein as well, and not only salads and things like that. So really like nourishing my body with real food.
And did you have someone, so for the 3rd postnatal period, did you have someone to make the food for you, or did you like stock the freezer, stock the fridge, and like know what you needed?
I did it all. It's my passion. Actually, nutrition is how I started as well. So I would say like my second career, my purpose career. Now I really started with nutrition. I love it. So I love cooking. It's just like when I am in flow. So this is my whatever. People will just go for a run. I just go to my kitchen and cook. So I did it all on my own.
Okay, good. And then when you said about the collagen, let's just go back around to the collagen as well. So can you explain maybe what made you take the collagen, if you remember the brand of collagen that you took as well?
Yeah, the thing is, I tried so many, and I tried I will always say, like also coming from a functional medicines background, it's all about real food, about being organic, and because there is so much out there, it's such a huge market that obviously the quality is not always the best, So really being careful that it is grass-fed, and I started with powder, and then it was not doing well with my tummy. And then I learned down the line that it's, because the molecule is too big, and it's like, it's just go a bit, I'm not an expert on this, but it goes through your tummy a bit too heavy. So I was not doing really well. And then actually I changed, now it's 1.5 years ago. My husband has a bike accident when he broke both of his arms. So, you have 3 kids and you get a 4th one. So it's just like, yeah. Oh God. So he couldn't do anything for 6 weeks. And a friend of mine, colleague of mine in the US said, you really need to get him this collagen. So it's kind of it's called BioCell, and then they have a patent on it together, and which make it very, very potent. And so I got him on that. And 3 months later, because the first month he didn't do anything. 3 months later, he was functioning properly. He had so he broke his elbow, so which is quite a big thing, switched the ligaments, and he got all his mobility and movement again. And the surgeon was just told him it would last 2 years. So after 3 months, he was just like amazed. And then I was, watching him doing his things. And I was like, oh, wait a second. If it's help his ligaments, it's going to help my ligaments down there and all. So I really starting, because let's put it this way. Before I was with supplement, I really don't like supplement because I forget to take them. So I prefer to get everything from the food. So I am really like loading on vegetables and things like that. And so it's why before I was just like, maybe I would try, and I'm not really being really consistent. But here I said, okay, I am going to try it, and I need really to go for it. So it was now last summer, I said, I'm going to try every day for 3 months with my pessary in as well, to see, because I also read an article from Dr. Margot at Postpartum.
I love her. Yeah, she's good.
And we met through her, yeah. And
I remember true.
This article was saying that and it makes sense, because, okay, another story, I was not with my pessary. I had one, but I didn't really use it. Because somehow, I don't know, I think I want to achieve everything on my own, I just, I don't, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to make it. And so anyway, for me, like the pessary was a bit of a, a help I didn't want. But I said, so the article was saying, when you put your pessary in, then your organs are supported. And I always like kind of describe it like, like a bag of tea, which is like hanging. So I can imagine my bladder and uterus being like that. But when you just support it, then they are closer to the wall. And therefore, if you do the right things, the right exercise and the right collagen and things like that, it will help. So I told myself, okay, let's get the pessary in every day and let's take the collagen every day. And after 3 months, I noticed definitely an improvement.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so now, with breathwork and hypopressive, I'm like, okay, I'm like on my way to reverse it. Definitely. I mean, this is my target. Definitely.
I feel I can see already, and like I know from talking to you that you're gonna do it. Like you're one of those people that's like determined, but in a really good way. You will get there, and that's it's such a wonderful message as well to give to other women. But it's amazing, and I think it's all the things that we've spoken about, isn't it? So diet, collagen, I think is amazing. Breath work, which we'll get on to, hypopressives, which obviously I'm obsessed with. But it's all those pieces of the puzzle. But that's just so wonderful to hear that made such a difference. So within those 3 months, and I love that it came from your husband, so that you watched that process. It's like a little guinea pig experiment. So you tried it on him, and then you're like, okay, this is working, and now I'm gonna try it on me. So I love that.
Yeah, and I think what you said, I think our prolapse stories, it's so much. It's like not one thing, it's not one thing which happened, and it's not one thing so we're gonna fix it. I also came to this realization, after a couple of years, because first I said, okay, I'm just gonna make it with food, but no, it's not only food, it's not only exercise, it's not only and then there is lots about, I think I discover more and more there is so much about emotion as well. So it's really like a whole thing. It didn't happen only because of birth, in my opinion, and it's not going to be fixed only with one thing. It's really like a multi-facet story.
I completely agree. And I think that's where the medical profession go wrong, because they look at prolapse just as like a pelvic floor injury, and that's it. And I think I completely agree with you that there's just so many things that go into it, and therefore there's so many things that you need to fix it. And I think that's also why there's so much message out there that you can't fix it, because people are thinking like, oh, there's just not one way to fix it. But I think once you realize, like we both did, like actually it's going to take time and it's going to take work, and there's lots of elements, but then you can get there, you can fix it. I want to circle back round to when you said about the emotional part as well, because I think that's such a big part of prolapse, isn't it, that women struggle with the emotional side.
Yeah, and I just discovered it maybe 2 years ago. And funnily now, I was talking to my Pilates teacher, which is a physiotherapist, and I said, do you think prolapse only is an emotional issue? And she looked at me with a smile, and, and she's a physiotherapist. And I was like, okay, well, I need to work on that. So somehow I discovered through breathwork, and maybe I discovered breathwork because of I didn't thought it was because of my prolapse. So I actually went to breathwork to actually manage my emotion, because I think being a mom is so difficult.
So difficult. But you've done it for the third time. I'm doing it for the third time. It's so difficult, but so rewarding. But yeah, I wish people told you how hard it is.
No, you ask also how was the postnatal after the third one and the first one. The first one is you become a mom. It's huge. It's huge. It's so difficult. It's like, it's beautiful, but so difficult. It's like you are tired and you don't understand this baby. And it is, why? Should it be love at the first time? At the first sight? And I was not. And I was like, is it wrong something with me? And am I going to love this baby? And of course, and then actually I would say it's love every day, even more, so there is all these things, and then there is a prolapse. So it's kind of like so difficult. You always have this two things to deal with. It's not only the prolapse. I think for me, it was, I think even the first year was more being a mom, which was more difficult. Maybe it was kind of covering my prolapse, like I was not really, of course I was looking into it, but what was more mentally difficult was becoming a mom and not being aligned. So wanted to do something, but was doing the other way because I didn't know any better. And so coming to the emotion, I was extremely, I had lots of emotion coming up, and they were like more the explosive type of emotion. So like anger and frustration, when the baby cry and the baby doesn't want to go to bed and doesn't want to go home and doesn't want to put their shoes on. And so this, so when you cannot control it, I was just like exploding,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to be such a mom. So, and this is where I always tell my story about breathwork. First, this was not really breathwork. It was just conscious breathing. It's like breathing, saying, okay, I need to calm myself. And in all this parenting course, they said, you need to breathe. So I was like, okay, let's breathe. Like, let's take 3 breaths. And so, and then down the line, third birth, I changed my career. So I was 20 years being like in corporate and traveling all over Europe. And then with the third one, I said, I can't do that. Then I took a break, and then exactly where does my, where do you, after you just kind of link all the dots, and I became a health coach, and I knew this was my prolapse journey because like now it was like 5 years down the line, I was looking at my nutrition. I was trying to understand my body, my nutrition, my sleep. And then I also realized the stress. When I am stressed, I feel my prolapse, or, kind of your pelvic floor just is gone. For me, when I was starting to get like so nervous and I was exploding, like I really literally felt my pelvic floor just going. And then therefore my prolapse I could have no symptom whatsoever. And then I would be so nervous and so frustrated, and here are my symptoms.
So I can completely resonate with that because after giving birth, if the kids ever do anything dangerous, like they run out into the road or something where, like your heart's in your mouth, I now feel it in my pelvic floor. I literally feel my pelvic floor shoot up and kind of grip in that moment of terror. And it's something that previous to children would never have happened. I just would have felt it everywhere else in my body, in my shoulders, in my heart, in my mouth. But I think that's fascinating that it's like, to me, it's like the emotion that you hold in that area is unbelievable. And the fact that, yes, so as soon as we're stressed, the stress in the pelvic floor, and as soon as the pelvic floor is stressed, obviously you feel the prolapse more, and then it becomes that little cycle, doesn't it? So trying to relax, trying to do the breath work is such a big piece of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's what I started to realize, to say like, first I was really, I will also say like, work on your trigger. So I was really trying to work on not making it happen. But honestly, also stress is there. It's always
life,
there.
Yes. And you've got kids. It made me really laugh when you said about one of the triggers being the kids not putting their shoes on. And I was just laughing because I was like, why is that so stressful? But I feel like every morning it's that like, just put your shoes on. Please put your shoes on. We need to leave the house. Please just and it's like there's something about it that just makes you lose it, isn't it? Them not getting their shoes on is just, it's one of those mum things.
And for me, I always say, now being in this world and digging into it, I understand as well that the kids are pressing the button of what we need to work on. Okay. And for me, it was clear that this, not being heard and not being seen is a huge core wound for me.
Yeah.
And by working on that, then I realized that they are not, they don't do that personally to just, make me crazy, So this is just me, because you would maybe you don't see you see the situation the same, saying, why are they not doing it? But, somebody else will look at it and just like be way more playful and play with them and say like, yeah, this is normal, They are just playing. They are just not listening. But for me, it's not being heard, not being seen. It's just like a big, big thing. So Yeah, exactly. And then so I was then after that discovering that, really working on that, like really kind of healing the not being seen, not being heard, and working on those emotions makes that you feel much better, much lighter, much coming to yourself. So.
And what does the breath work entail for you? So you said it started off with literally just breathing, taking a few breaths in those situations when there are emotions. But what does the breath work look like for you now? And I know you run workshops now as well. So what does the breath work entail for that?
So my daily routine will be, or my weekly routine will be really doing proper breathwork session for myself. So and then when I said, because breathwork, I just like, again today explained it, because breathwork is so a huge concept now. I mean, it's everybody talk about it, but what is it exactly? So I always say there is a functional breathing part of it. Like, how do you breathe every day? Do you breathe from properly, like what we know as prolapse warrior, like being like like breathing from the chest, and not just from the top of the, breathing, let me make it correct, like breathing really with your diaphragm and not
with your rib
on the
cage,
top.
yeah,
Exactly, not on the top of the your chest. And so how do you breathe functionally first and mechanically, because this has to do with your pelvic floor as well. And saying that, I had to relearn it. I personally were breathing the other way around.
Yes.
So instead of expanding my tummy when I was breathing in, I was actually sucking it in. So I was a tummy sucker all my life. So breathwork was for me at the beginning this, learning to breathe properly again. And once you learn it again, I always say you don't need so long. I think for me it was a couple of weeks, because your body take over again, because your body knows how to work. It's just like the stress in life, whatever your suppressed emotion or anything which have happened to you, also physical accident or things like that, will make that we breathe differently. So I kind of work on that first, and then my alignment, and exactly, so all this mechanical part of it. So this was a part of my routine, but which is not anymore, because, except with the hypopressive a little bit, but it's my body took over properly. And then weekly, I do really like proper breathwork session for me. So the way I teach it is like different speed. So it could be, I can decide, okay, I do a very energizing breath work with different speed of breath work. And then after there is a meditation, or I just lie down for myself to just think, just be in my space. It's very like meditation. It's very like meditation. I started with meditation. It was too, I don't know, not active enough for me. And it's why I love breath work, because it's bring you to your meditative state, to this really nice space when you really distress, but it's active. And then, there is a very relaxed breath work that I do as well, which bring your body into a deep, deep relaxation, which I do very often actually, because, it teaches your nervous system to be relaxed. Yeah. So I do that. So I do that like probably like twice weekly now, because I do 20 minutes of hypopressive every day. And
20
before
minutes,
I was doing,
it's good.
Yeah. This week with the kids at home, it have been 10. But so I would do, and then I started that maybe 4 months ago. But before I would do like 20 minutes breathwork every day. But then I can't do everything. So, but hypopressive is also breathwork in a way.
Yes, completely, because you've got the 3 rounds of breath. And I always say I think people always say as well when they're learning it, at the end of the 10 minutes or 20 minutes, wonderful, you feel so relaxed, but it's because you've got those 3 deep breaths. And I think when I teach it as well, I try and teach it that there's like a pause between it. So you have your inhale, your exhale, and then you just decide, to kind of wait for the next inhale to come. And I think that pause can just calm people down so much. And I think, again, going back to like the mental side of prolapse, if you've got that breath work or you're doing the hypopressives, just that pause, that really allowing like the vagus nerve system to really calm the body, And we just don't take the time as mums as well. You know, you're rushing for coffee and to the baby clubs and or to the school pickup. So actually taking that time to breathe is crucial, isn't it? Allowing your body that time.
It is, and it's really like, I remember also like, you know, hearing this concept, you know, white space and, you know, self-care, and I was like, yeah, but I don't have the time. And it's why I said to but it's why like what I realized also back to like, okay, the first, as I said, like the breath when I became a mom was just like a couple of breaths, and then when my last one was born, it's when I became a health coach, and I really like learned. I mean, my biggest learning was you cannot heal if you are stressed. Your body is either stressed or relaxed, and you will not be able to heal a prolapse if you are stressed all the time. And of course, you know, like our nervous system needs to switch between stress and relaxation, but we need to be more into relaxation than stress. And if we are stressed, we cannot just heal. And this was for me like a big realization. And then at this time, I didn't have my 20 minutes a day. So I was just breathing 5 minutes, bringing the kids to bed. So I was lying with them and I was breathing 5 minutes. And this over time built up my resilience so much, because then, and I was not even doing breathwork at the time. It was really, I could see the trigger coming. I could see the stressful situation coming and me staying relaxed. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And this is when I said, I need to learn it even more, and I need to teach it to people, and I need to bring it to the world, probably with like you and Hypopressives, saying, okay, now this is going to be my job. And because this is just amazing what breathing can do to you. Like just this relaxation. And with the hypopressive is about the exhale is so long.
Yeah.
And the relaxation happen at the exhale. So definitely, I mean, it's just, yeah.
I think one thing I just want to pick up on is I went to an event the other day and they were talking about how it's generally women, that when women discover something that helps themselves, they want to share it. And I think that's such like a female kind of nurturing thing, that it's like we discover something. So for you, the breath work, for me, the hypopressives, and then you're like, you know, rather than just keeping it to yourself and being like, okay, fine, I'm healed, off I go. Women are ultimately the ones that are like, oh, I need to share this with the rest of the world. I need to help all these other women. And I think, yeah, well, that's where we both come in, isn't it? Together with the breath work and the hypopressives and wanting to help. And you now do so. Talk a little bit more about your work and how people can work with you, because you do your breathwork sessions, don't you? And so explain a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I just want to go back to what you just said. It's so funny because it's true. Like before for me was, you know, nutrition is everything for prolapse. I am just going to teach everyone about how to eat properly, how to make quick food, easy food and things like that. And now I discover breathwork. I'm like, no, this is even, you know, like I need to go there. So, and I think I will stay there because, you know, but really to everybody, like it's really like a combination of everything. So, but breathwork is just unbelievable. I mean, I'm like everybody, and it can help so many people, not only like women with prolapse, but the way I work is like, there is like, I always do like free breathwork session for people to try, because I think people doesn't really know and understand what it is. And so I always say it's kind of come to a yoga session. And then you just lie on the floor, and then we breathe in different speed. And then this will bring you, actually it's going to shut down your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain. And then you will get into more a meditative state. And your breaths have been proven scientifically to be the bridge between your conscious and your unconscious. So this is why when you get into this meditative state, with the meditation I do after, there is lots of, you feel so much love and so much gratitude, and you go to the emotion and can release emotion. So one of my first breathwork experience, I actually released, I forgave myself for my prolapse happening. So it's, and again, it was so, I mean, for me, this was mind blowing, because I was like, it was 7 years down the line. Okay. So I was like, okay, I've done everything, you know, nutrition and sleep and my triggers and everything. So I thought I was good. And then I was like, what is this now? And I really thought, and I had still this, whatever, resentment you would probably say in English, or this about I didn't know I had, because I was fine. I was doing my, this was my new job and helping women with prolapse. And I was like, oh my gosh, I still have resentment about this happening to me. So I found it fascinating. And I also felt like, and I know that everybody, so many people say that, not everybody, but so many people say that after the breathwork is like you get something lifted physically and mentally after a breathwork. And I felt like less symptomatic way after that. So, after this happening, me releasing this massive emotion of resentment towards me was a big one. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I just like, now I'm like, it's my new medicine, definitely.
I was just thinking
everything.
Yeah, when you're saying that, because I know we're very much concentrating on prolapse, but actually the breath work would probably be for new mums as well that have got postnatal depression or that have had a traumatic birth. Like actually that would be super beneficial as well, wouldn't it? Because it's all the same kind of aspects that would go into it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think everybody has, it's not, I think you can release a lot of trauma. And I know that this can also make people really afraid to do breathwork because they say, I don't want to open the door. I don't want to release trauma.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is something hidden somewhere and I'm just going to discover it. And I'm like saying, no. Your body will release whatever is ready to release when it is ready to release it. So you will always be faced to something in your life that you are ready to take on. So if you're not ready, this is not going to come into breathwork. But it's beneficial for everybody. And we are like passionate about postnatal, moms and prolapse or not prolapse, because we know it's so difficult. So just also the stress. I had a client last time and she didn't have a prolapse, but twins, and she was just so overwhelmed. And she did like one session with me, 20 minutes of breath work. We had 1.5 hours of coaching, but we did 20 minutes of breath work. And she said she felt this warm feeling in her chest when normally she's always like very tense. And her baby were not sleeping at the time. And then the next morning, she said, Benedicte, they fall asleep straight away. Because the thing is, we are all energy and our stress get to the baby. And then I was like, saying it's not surprising. It's not surprising. If we are relaxed as mom, our kids will be more relaxed. So I think it's beneficial for everyone, yeah.
I think it is beneficial for everyone. And I think, again, you can see that in the difficult times like bedtime. If you get stressed and if you're shouting, you can see the children, respond, like, because then their cries get louder and, you're both stressed and no one's going to go to sleep. But if you've got that ability, and I think it's very difficult, isn't it? Like you said earlier, if you're triggered by certain things, and feeling not seen and not heard, and you've done a long day of being a good mum and a gentle parent and all of that, and you get to bedtime and they're still not listening, it's so easy to lose it. But I think if you can, if you're calm, and I've seen that, if I can stay calm, and I do breath work with my kids at nighttime and we have the meditation on, it makes such a difference. But it is that mirror, and I think that's so interesting that you've said that, because they mirror what you give them as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So breath work is beneficial for the whole family.
Yes, exactly. And my little one, and it's also like, this is such a good thing. Like you are also do what you can do for you, and you will mirror that back. So I never really asked my kids to breathe with me, but because I am doing that while I lie with them, now my little one, which is 5, he will just lie. I will always lie with them, at the bedtime, because I just heard this. I love this time when they tell you their day. And then now he just say he would just chat. And then at some point he would say, okay, can we breathe together? And then he just have these 3 breaths and he fall asleep. And this morning, really honestly, my husband said, I think I will take you into your breathwork stuff. Because my husband is doing, tried with me once and, busy and doing his own things. And this morning he said, I think I take you on that. And I'm like, yes, because he see also how it has transformed me and how stressed I was. And now I'm much more relaxed facing the stressful situation. So I was like, yes.
This is, I feel like I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent, but it is the same thing. I was listening to a podcast the other day, which is about manifesting. So I love manifesting as well. And it was saying about how you have your journey, and it's like you have to go through the door and kind of do all of your practices and your journey, and you can't take everyone with you, meaning you can't force them to do the breathwork or the hypopressives. You just have to do it yourself, walk through the door, become this kind of new person, and then they will see like, oh, actually I want to go through that door. So like he's now saying like, oh, I want to do it. And it was like a wonderful description of how you can't like pile everyone on your body, so like your husband and the kids, because then you don't fit through the door anymore. So it was like you have to walk through your own door, and then if they watch, they will come afterwards. And I just think that's so lovely. And another story is that I've always taught Ethan to do the moo breath to poo, so I've trying to start the pelvic floor very early with both of them. And I heard him the other day, like saying to Sebastian, our little one, like, Mummy taught me, we have to moo to poo, and he was showing him how to breathe on the toilet and to relax. And I just thought it's lovely because he's seen me do it in those early postnatal days. He's picked it up himself. And now he's passing it on to his brother. So, it's like they they pick it all up, don't they?
I love that. And my daughter came yesterday and said, oh, I told a friend about what you are doing. And I told her, breathing through the mouth is not good. You need to breathe through the nose. And was it correct, Mommy? And I was like, yes. But I love that. And I love your image of you cannot fit into the door if you take everyone with you. I think it's resonate a lot with me because you kind of want to take everyone. You say like, oh, come on, this is so good, come with me. But let the people go through their journey. I will link
that podcast actually in the show notes, and I'll send it to you because I feel like it'll be a really good one for you to listen to. Benedicte, is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything you feel like postnatal women need to hear? Any other like tips that you've got? Anything that you want to share now that we're here and on the podcast?
Oh, just like you are normal. If you feel crap and you feel like terrible being a mom, can we say that really loudly? Motherhood is not only pink, and and pregnancy is not only beautiful, and birth is not only beautiful, and it's all. It's so difficult. It's such a new world being a mom. Then we all need to find our way. And you are fine. And I mean, you will be fine, but it's okay if you feel crap and get some help and, like talk to other moms, because I think so many of us, I know we talked about it. We both are really loud. I mean, when I was, I was like, this is not nice and I don't feel good, and I'm struggling. I was really struggling with exactly the education of wanting to do different and my parents, and I was really struggling with that. But I was really loud on that, saying like, I don't know what to do and things like that, where so many just doesn't want to talk about it. I don't know. Maybe we are more open now, but it's okay. It's okay not to feel okay.
Yeah, I think that's such a good message, isn't it? And I think the more of us that come out and are loud and say that, it makes other people feel like it's okay to say it, maybe even in a smaller voice, so that they can then say to one friend, like, actually, I'm not coping, I'm struggling, or go to the GP or contact a charity. But I think those of us that are confident enough to tell our story, to come out and say, this is how we felt and we went through this, that to me is for me, that's why I tell my story. And I think it's, everyone I speak to on the podcast, it's why they tell their story, because they just want to help other women.
Yeah, and it makes me think, when a mom comes with a new baby, everybody's about the baby. And I'm like, I'm actually not about the baby. Of course, this is really cute. And I'm like, oh, this is actually, should I make another one? But I'm like really looking at the mom and say, how are you? Really, how are you doing?
Yeah. It's
Because
funny
it's also,
sorry, it's always my first thing that, like, if a friend's had a baby or even someone I know, my first question is, how is the mum doing, or how are you doing, before how is the baby, can I see the baby? Because I know 90% of people have asked, can I see the baby, how's the baby, everything. But yeah, you're so right. Like, and again, it's that we need to look after the mother, otherwise the mother cannot look after her child. We need to mother the mother. And then the child will be looked after. But we have to ask those questions and just say, how are you doing?
Yes, exactly. Like for 9 months, you are like the center of the room. You are pregnant. And, for 9 months, nobody is letting you in peace. It's all about you. And then suddenly it's no more about you, but the baby. Yeah.
I think this has been mentioned on every podcast recording I've done. Yeah, like everyone said the same thing, but it's true. In society, it's just, and you have so many appointments and the scans and it's all wonderful. And then the postnatal just drops off completely. And again, I mean, you've experienced it in different countries, which was the interesting thing. And there are a few countries around the world where postnatal care is wonderful, but I think the majority of the time postnatal care is not great, and the mother is forgotten about or kind of pushed to the side. And it's just we need to change that, don't we?
Yeah, completely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Can you just let everyone know where they can find you, like on Instagram, or how you'd like to be contacted and how people can get in touch?
I think Instagram on it's called @rock_with_your_pop. And then here you will find like all the free breathwork session or the workshop I do, to, as we said, like to work on all the core wounds and the emotional pressure that we shouldn't have. And on Facebook, I am under Benedicte Siva.
Wonderful. I will share everything in the show notes, and then people can come and find you and hopefully do one of your free breathwork sessions. And then, amazing. Thank you so much, Benedicte, for today.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.